Prajavitam brahmachiram dritam yat. Ahomimam pashyata vinasham. Tapasvina sakcharita vritasya. Antajari charaprasangat. Prajavitam brahmachiram dritam yat.
Ho imam pashyatami vinasyam.
Ahomimam pashyata
Tapasvina sarcharita vratasya.
Tapasvina sakcharita vritasya.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Pracharyavitam brahmachiram dhritam yat.
Prajavitam brahmachiram dritam yat. Ahomimam pashyatame vinasham.
Ahomimam pashyatame vinasham.
Tapasvina sakcharita vritasya.
Tapasvina sakcharita vritasya.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Prajavitam brahmachiram dritam yat.
Pracchavitam brahmachiram dhitam yat.
Ahomimam pashyatami vinasyam.
Ahomimam pashyatame vinasham.
Tapasvina sarcharita vratasya.
Tapasvina sakcharita
vritasya.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Antarjale varichara prasangat.
Pracchavitam brahmachiram dhritam yat.
Prajavitam brahmachiram dhitam yat.
Ladies? Okay.
Ahomimam pashyatame vinasham.
Tapasvina sakcharita vritasya. Antarjale varichara prasangat. Pracchavitam brahmachiram dhitam yat. Aho! Alas! Imam! This! Pashyata! Just see! May! Of me! Vinasham! Fall down! Tapasvinaha! Who was such a great mystic, performing austerities. Satcharita, a very good character, observing all necessary rules and regulations. Pratasya, of one who has taken a vow strictly. Antarjale, in the depths of the water. Varichara prasanga, because of the affairs of the aquatics. Pracchavitam, fallen. Brahman, from the activities of Brahman, realization. Or austerity. Chiram, for a long time. Ritam, executed. Yat, which. Translation, there's no purport. It's, the subject matter of this chapter, and one of the primary features of this chapter, the downfall of Shobhari Muni. Alas, while practicing austerity, even within the depths of the water, the warning, nowhere is safe. And while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons, I lost the results of my long austerities simply by association with the sexual affairs of fish. And then there's a little after, kind of extra on the verse in a sense. Prabhupada translates here. everyone should observe this fall down and learn from it. So this is a very practical lesson, and this occurs, we see, on a few other occasions. With Ajamil, for instance, maybe a few others you can think of in the Bhagavatam, whereby observing a particular activity, the result of the observation is that it affects one's heart, and in the case of Ajamil and Shobhari, they both fell into sexual relationships, fell down from their exalted position. So we'll go on to the next verse because it's a purport there. Samgang chideta mituna vatinam mamokshuhu sarvatmanana visikat bahir indriyani ekas charana hasichita mananta ishe yunji tatadvati shuta dushuchet prasangaha. This is the thoughts of Shobhari Muni being written here. Continuation. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life, and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. Yet these are the thoughts of Shobhari Muni for the welfare of others. As a yogi, he's practicing yogic, mystic meditation. He's not directly practicing Bhakti Yoga in one sense. He says, in one sense, we should remember the personality of Godhead, of course. He's not actively engaged. Very dangerous. Simply sitting and meditating. Even Vishwamitra Muni became disturbed, deep in meditation, 60,000 years meditating. Along comes Menaka, the heavenly damsel, tinkling ankle bells. Vishwamitra Muni's attention is broken, and he becomes attracted to her and fell into a sexual relationship. Shakuntala, beautiful child, was born. Very easy fall down. You see how important association is. To associate with these. One of the things which is often, I'm sure, quite interesting for those spirit souls, especially the devotees in female bodies, how so much of the Bhagavatam seems to speak as if, to men, basically speaking. And looking at, we should carefully avoid association with women. or with those too much attached to sex life. Even more dangerous in some ways is to associate with men, we're talking of men's association, of course, who are addicted to sex life and destroy one's spiritual, destroy ultimately, but can cause one to fall down from one's spiritual practice. But there's a reason why it's like this. We understand, Prabhupada explains that, especially for Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, this is a general understanding we should be careful, men or women, about intimate association or with the opposite sex or whatever it is these days. Careful. But originally it was understood that these men were supposed to be responsible for the shelter and protection of women and of society. So these instructions are directly given to men to warn them. First of all, they should be properly situated. If they're not carefully situated, how can they protect the women or anyone else, children, other living entities? It's their duty to do that. Kali Yuga, they don't do it in the same way, at least. But that was a Vedic system. The men, they had to be supposedly guided by this higher directive. Otherwise, the whole society is dragged down to modes of passion and ignorance. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, so Bhari Muni, giving conclusions derived from his practical experience. Sometimes there's nothing like practical experience. It's a very powerful, you can say, influence on people. Personal experience, conviction. A lot of the times we are perhaps somewhat familiar with the philosophy, theoretically. And maybe that's also logically speaking, or if someone has some faith, or well presented logically, maybe somewhat convincing. But there's nothing like personal experience. It doesn't mean that you have to experience everything to become Krishna conscious, so to speak. But one who's Krishna conscious first actually has that realization, can see they're developed with a mature consciousness. They can see what is going on. They don't need to directly go through it, so to speak. So for the majority of practitioners, conditioned souls, they've had experience, not just indirect, but direct experience of these things. Most of those who've joined this movement have had direct experience of this. And it can work in different ways. So Bhari Muni, giving conclusions derived from his practical experience, instruct us that persons interested in crossing to the other side of the material ocean must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and accumulating money. The greatest entanglement of the spirit soul, many verses, Prasanga Madhuram Bhasha, which indicate this warning. The greatest entanglement to associate with materialistic persons or sense gratification. And that same attachment is transferred to the self-realized souls. It is a cause of liberation. One should always stay. I missed something there. Yes. A person desiring liberation must give up the association of persons interested in sex life. Oh, we read that verse. I'm a little tired of going backwards here. Did I read the verse?
No.
Oh, that's why I'm reading it. Okay, translation. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. So today, this is the lesson of the day. Huh? So you should eat. No eating today. Don't look at anything. Don't hear anything. Don't talk. Don't walk. Don't breathe. Don't do anything. Okay? This is a lesson to learn here. One should always stay in a secluded place. So I know we're going to find a secluded place around here.
No Shatlahal.
Huh?
No Shatlahal anymore.
Châtelet d'El, I'm afraid not. No. I don't know what to do. No more sense enjoyment in Châtelet d'El. Can't go to the forest up the road there. Completely fixing his mind. Now we come to the essence here. Completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. So, I thought maybe I did read it or didn't read, but whatever, I thought about it. This is the mentality of the yogi, his position. Difficult path. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains somewhat. Arjuna said, this is too difficult. So Vayamuni giving conclusions, how we can cross over to the other side, by giving up this association of materialistic persons. Hiranyakashipus, sex life and accumulating money. No, that's all very well, but we've got the mind, and for most people their mind is their greatest enemy. Full of material desires driving us onwards, disturbing, totally disturbing us, even as aspiring servants or devotees. The mind it does, takes us away from our objective goal as quickly as it can. It's not easy to train the mind. The yogi has to withdraw. It's quite an austere process. They have to choose a situation where there's no further input of material pictures or thoughts, etc. They're already there maybe, but no further. That's it. This is also advised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kinchinasya bhagavat bhajanon mukhasya param param jigamashor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinam hatayoshitam cha ha hanta hanta visha bhakshanatopya sadhu. Chaitanya Chandradoya Nataka 827. Is that Prabodhananda Saraswati who wrote that? I think so. Alas, for a person seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification, and seeing a woman who is similarly interested in more abominable, similarly interested, is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. Because that's why we go to Châtelet-Léal. You never see this in Châtelet-Léal. Everyone down there is a saintly person. absorbed in meditating on the personality of God, controlling their senses, not even thinking about sense gratification. Just like Vaikuntha. Maybe we should name it New Vaikuntha. You see nothing other than that down there, isn't it?
Yeah.
In almost wherever you go in this world, it's not much different. There's different degrees, that's all. Some places worse, maybe worse than others, they seem to be. You go to the beach in weather like this, my God, don't see, I don't know. What will you see? I mean, it depends which. I remember we were staying, one time I was visiting a devotee on the south coast of France. So we had nowhere for us to stay. So they put us in a caravan park. Caravan park was okay. So we thought, we'll go to the beach. Went to the beach, like next to the caravan park. It was cool. I thought this was nice. It said naturalist beach. I had no idea what that meant. I thought, that sounds nice. It's a very natural beach. And if you live in France, I think you know what that means.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, completely open. Just walk straight out the caravan park into the naturalist beach. I thought, oh boy, what is this? So we went to I took my glasses off. And we walked on to the next beach. Dogs only. The dog beach. Beach for dogs.
Wow.
What type of world are we living in? You either could be a dog or a nude. One or the other. There's no beach for anyone else. You see, it looks like even, I mean, and especially in this weather, I mean, I guess, I don't know what the women think, but from the man's point of view, so many of the women haven't got much clothing on. To do, whatever it is. It's amazing how, I mean, this is don't forget that this is going back a few years, when society was a little bit more, we could say, civilized. Even 500 years ago, Vedacharya is totally disturbed by the fallen condition of human society. But imagine seeing the situation in Paris or some beach somewhere. What is it? You know, what is now going on? What is going on now? Well, last Saturday was Gay Pride Day.
Oh my God.
Well, you probably didn't see the parade, but the parade is out. It's not out of this world. It is literally not from this world. It's like something coming up from hell. Unbelievable. I've seen it. Not this year, but in previous years. Unbelievable what people are, whatever, what's happening to people. So degraded. They think this is liberalism, advancement or something crazy. Condemning themselves to hellish situation. More abominable than drinking poison. Situation. One who desires complete freedom from material bondage can engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He must not associate with Vishayi, means materialistic persons, or those interested in sex life. Every materialist is interested in sex, and sex is much more than just the specific act. everything around it, the expansion of that sex, in one sense, is seeing oneself as the enjoyer of the object. Not directly like that, but that's like the most profound or the most intense aspect. Baba said even skyscraper buildings and all those things that modern society puts together are related. This desire to enjoy or to see oneself as Purusha. The original sex, Adi Ras. The Krishna is the Purush. Everything is meant for his enjoyment. So in the material world, the conditioned soul, man or woman, Prabhupada says, it doesn't matter. Everyone sees themselves as Purusha, the enjoyer. And this is the basic diseased condition. And whatever form it takes, it's a reflection, perversion, whatever, of this Adiras, this original relationship in the spiritual world, where everything is meant for the enjoyment of Krishna. But for persons who are grossly absorbed in thinking it's meant for my pleasure, such association is devastating. Thus, in plain language, it is advised that an exalted saintly person avoid the association of those who are materially inclined. Srila Narottam Das Thakur also recommends that one engage in the service of the acharyas. And if one wants to live in association, he must live in the association of devotees. Tandara Charana Sevi Bhakti Sanivas. The Krishna conscious movement is creating many centers just to create devotees, so that by associating with the members of such a center, people will automatically become uninterested in material affairs. Although this is an ambitious proposal, this association is proving effective by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By gradually associating with the members of the Krishna Consciousness movement, simply by taking prasadam and taking part in chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, ordinary persons are being considerably elevated. So Bari Muni regrets that he had bad association, even in the deepest part of the water. Because of the bad association of the sexually engaged fish, he fell down. A secluded place is also not secure unless there is good association. Well, it's a very big topic, isn't it? I mean, what to say in a few minutes. The whole subject matter of the effect of association. How is it that devotees are protected, can be protected? And when they go into the middle of these, I mean, there are situations even more intense. I'll give you an example. Many times, perhaps you've done yourself, we used to go to rock concerts when we were young, bloody young. And I don't know how it is now, I haven't been for a long, long time, but in the early years of this, the late 60s, early 70s, they were wild. And then even when we joined the temple, we would go to these same rock concerts, but representing the ISKCON, representing Krishna Consciousness, and put up a tent, and so many of the people in there would be naked. The people coming in, they sit there naked. smoking, marijuana, taking drugs, liquor, so many things. Completely, what do you say, worst type of association, practically. But what is it that, how is it, maybe we do fall down, sometimes that happens. But how can a devotee be protected in that situation? How is it possible? It's Shobhari Muni, of course there's the story behind it you already heard, his offense towards Garuda, but aside from that, it's almost very difficult to imagine how a devotee can not be, maybe there's some disturbance there, but how they are protected nonetheless. It's not surprising that one is disturbed, seeing these various objects. But what is the, maybe we be careful going into these situations, but sometimes they occur. Sometimes that test or that situation happens to evolve. So what is it that protects the devotee? We're not particularly austere, it's not our intensive austerities or willpower, maybe, but that's not the only factor for sure, even if it is a factor. What is protecting a devotee? Someone like to say?
His service.
Pardon?
His service, Maharaj.
Service? You say service?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, no doubt about that, but, anything else?
Protection of the spiritual master who want to give the mercy to every fallen soul.
Well, that's, he's a transparent one, medium. Spiritual masters, all the devotees actually, are transparent via medias. It's not that we ourselves have that power. Every living entity, even advanced devotees like Bharat Maharaj fell down. You see, it's not a new thing. Even in the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishnadas fell down. It's risky. So what is the protection?
Well, I have a contribution.
You have a what?
The Kadamba Kanaswami, he used to tell us that we would fall down many times a day if Lord Chaitanya wasn't personally holding us up.
There we go.
Wow.
That's the secret. There is the secret. It's all the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have no hope. Look what Prabhupada did. But Prabhupada transcendental, but still he picked up people in the most fallen condition. Totally fallen. I don't think anyone in this room has experienced the degree of the fallen nature of many of the early devotees in this movement. Drug addicts, so many degraded situations, and sometimes very quickly picked up by association. Association is very powerful in both sides. And that's the idea that Prabhupada wanted us for the benefit of all, pleasure of Krishna, to create an association where devotees are connected. Is there a connection to Krishna, basically, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? By taking shelter of Krishna, Krishna protects the devotee. In danger, we chant Hare Krishna. You're preaching. In fact, that's discussed at length by Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj in his commentaries on Chaitanya Bhagavat. What it means to associate even in Chateleleal, he doesn't mention in his commentary Chateleleal, but similar situations occur everywhere. That the devotee's intention and focus is not to associate with the people on the street, but rather to try to connect them with Krishna. His mood is to serve Lord Chaitanya's mission, to preach. And Lord Chaitanya protects such devotees. Even though the mind may wander off and there's some pretty girl or some, charismatic man or whatever it is that attracts our attention, or something in a shop, Krispy Kreme, whatever it is, McDonald's, hopefully not. There's one good thing about McDonald's is the toilet.
Toilets, yes. Practical.
Very practical.
All over the world.
Huh?
Everywhere.
Everywhere in the world, McDonald's. The toilets are always available for the Sankara voters. They get some, we hope they get some Agata secretion. Also Burger King and all these different chain stores. They're kind of obligated. There was a court case which someone went in, not a customer, someone went in to use the boiler and they stopped him from using it and they took them to court and they won the case. So from then on they were forcibly, they have to let outsiders use their toilets.
Wow.
I don't know if it's every one of them, but that was Starbucks.
Oh.
So whatever it is, that's off the line, off the beaten track. Danger. But if we focus our hearts, our minds upon what we're doing out there, not just gawking around looking at the sights, but we're out there to chant the holy name, District Prasadam. It's like yesterday, I don't know exactly the scenario, but there was some behind me. I was sitting up front there, and there was prasadam being distributed, lunch prasadam. Yasamati and others were behind, and was it a family, one lady or what, with her son?
Yeah, the lady.
Lady and her son came and took prasadam, huh?
We met her the day before in the...
Oh, that's that couple, was it?
Yeah, it's
Okay, because the boy wasn't with him the day before.
Yes, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see him the day. I can't remember seeing him the day before. So we met them in Garsasal. Let's see how it works. Gave a donation, right?
Yeah.
In Garsasal. And then they met us again yesterday. Because I only saw the boy, I didn't see the others there yesterday. They were behind her. And they came to Chateleleal and they took prasadam. And the boy came round and put some money in the box and I gave him a book. And then again he came and I was distracted. I didn't notice it. His mother,
Yeah.
mother pulled out 20 euros,
Yeah.
put it in the box, put the 20 euros in the box. See how it works. Good association, prasadam. Became very heart change. Step by step by step. Association, change of heart. Instead of using that in McDonald's or whatever. Instead they get so much benefited. So if the doors don't go out, and if doors don't go out, none of us would be here. If our whole policy of our movement was just to sit in a cave somewhere and just meditate, we wouldn't be able to do it anyway. But if it were, nobody would be here. There'd be nobody. Neither those in the cave nor those out of the cave would be benefited. It's very difficult to do that, Arjuna said he couldn't do it. What to speak of us? Even Vishwamitra Muni fell down. Not easy. So Bari Muni fell down. Bharat Maharaj fell down. So many warnings are there. So many. Without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, particularly in this Kali Yuga, particularly in Kali, what to speak? Even in other, these occurrences were in other yugas, much more pious times. In Kali Yuga, no sane person would go near it. But in Kali Yuga, The greatest mercy is there. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is unending, unlimited. By remembering Lord Chaitanya, it's impossible not to be affected. But if we remember Lord Chaitanya, even impossible things become easy. By remembering Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is what the teaching, you shouldn't get it wrong, but the teaching of the spiritual master is teaching. Prabhupada always said, I'm trying to teach you to remember Krishna. That's the protection. In our case, particularly Lord Chaitanya. Spiritual master is like Lord Nityananda, representing. And he's telling us to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. He's our protector from these challenges. And when association with devotees means associating with devotees who remind us of Lord Chaitanya, or remind us of Krishna. Not just some physical contact, it's actually the consciousness which is the key. Conscious of Lord Chaitanya, the Sankirtan movement. So we're going out as representative of Lord Chaitanya, so naturally Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to offer his protection to those who are going out on his behalf. Of course, if we don't want it, that's another thing. But it's there if we want it. It's impossible otherwise. Not possible. And special mercy. That's what this special thing about this movement. People are amazed to see. How can you do this? Many, especially persons who are maybe Hindus or whatever like that. I remember one time Bhakti Vikas Maharaj told me he went to see Sringeri Math is the seat of the Shankar Sampradaya in South India, in I think it's in Karnataka. One of their main seats, Sringeri Math. He went, there's one sannyasi, a young sannyasi, who's quite, well, they have a different doctrine, a different philosophy, but he's kind of very friendly with ISKCON. And a long time ago, back to Vikas Maharaj told me, he went to see him. Sannyasi said, if we had to do what your sannyasis do, we would all fall down. He could appreciate and understand there's something special. As the risk is always there, we know that. So we have to always be taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Better not learn the hard way, because we've already had a lot of hard experiences. Most of us have come from very materialistic backgrounds. And you see it every day. You don't have to go very far to see the effects of this material association and how much people are, despite all of their so-called liberalism and facilitating their senses and so on, are still not happy, still not satisfied, still suffering. You can see that like that. Best thing is to hear from Shastra. And if we can't, then sometimes by seeing the misery or the suffering of others, the last thing is to learn oneself. But unfortunately, that's often the case. But somehow or other, we have to learn this. We have to realize the dangers of association. Not just the people, our minds, and now we have the added opportunity with social media, another, in some ways, more challenging because you can kind of do it secretly on your own. Quite challenging sometimes. We really have to pray for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for his shelter and protection. This is what Srila Prabhupada has given us uniquely in this world today. Nowhere else will you find this. Nowhere else. Going to rock concerts, dancing with half naked or naked youth, and not being affected is impossible. Impossible. Only by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His devotees, of course, who give us that mercy, connect us to that mercy. remind us of that mercy. He's Patita Pavana, deliver the most fallen. I guess that's their only qualification. We have none other. And chanting the holy names, which is what Lord Chaitanya is giving us, that's the medicine, the protecting force in many ways. We just keep chanting Hare Krishna. Keep chanting. We don't need to go into the forest. The material world is a forest of enjoyment or forest of delusion. We're going into that forest. It's more dangerous than the jungle. There are four-legged animals in the jungle, but Padapasha, there are two-legged animals in these cities. Concrete jungles. You have to take shelter like that. The Lord, He'll protect. We're not talking about physical protection here, we're talking about protection of our consciousness. We don't get carried away by whatever form that bad association takes. We have our past baggage, that's also a lot of dirt in there too. We see ourselves get carried away with that, and not just meditating on sense objects, but by behavior also. We get carried away by conditional behavior sometimes. Getting angry over nothing just because we see ourselves in the center. As long as we see ourselves in the center, there's nothing really auspicious. We're inevitably going to behave in unbecoming ways, by speech or by action. Put Krishna in the center of our lives. That's good association. Okay, I'm going to cut off there. Those devotees who are leaving us this morning, and especially the Veda Sara Prabhu is leaving 10:30 this morning. He's taking a bus back to Germany. No, to the station, airport, to the airport, and to Germany. Thank you for coming. We'll see you in 10 days. A week Saturday we'll see you, Krishna. Maybe Friday you'll come. Good if you come the day before, if you're free.
Yeah.
We're going to meet in Soho Street. Don't forget there's Bhadra Punim coming up. We're Bhadra campaign going on. Not complain, campaign. No room to complain. Let's go on the campaign. Not champagne. Campaign. Fancy like champagne. So far I think we've done about 20 sets. 11 in June. Bit of that beat them 2 the month before. So we have about, I suppose, I don't know. Last year we did 112 sets.
Oh.
Huh?
Did you make a pledge?
I left it to them this year. I'm not directly. I have to keep reminding them they made a pledge. They keep forgetting. What did you pledge? Head down. What was the pledge? Did you make it? Who made it?
Well,
I saw something.
we said about 64 something.
We said 64 last year. When we had our European discussion on it last year, I think we're on this year. But everyone was saying it's so difficult. We've already distributed books to all of our members and all of our devotees, and we've gone to everywhere we can think of. What do you want to do? It's very hard. And we all agreed on that. We would try anyway. And we went over. We said, okay, we'll try for 64. That's really pushing it. And then the devotees did 112. I did about 30 of those right outside the door there, on the table, during the festivals.
Yeah.
Janmashtami
Yeah, Janmashtami.
and Radhastami.
Yes.
year before the 50th anniversary.
Mm.
So many sets were distributed. So let's see. But there's about 40 something to go. Possible.
It's possible.
But yeah, it's not really a big quota set, really. Let's see. Try to do more. If you know anyone who's interested, please either follow up yourself or give the lead to someone who will follow up. Let's see Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. Even if you don't read it, it'll sit there until the time's right. But when you go for programs, there's another feature. Usually the first thing we forget is to take books with us. We take everything else. But Prabhupada, first thing he would take is the books. Prashadam and books, two most important. Instruments are number 3. Prashadam, or books, Prashadam, instruments, paraphernalia. You can get by without instruments, no problem at all. You can't get by without books. Or without Prashadam. Prashadam should always be there. Anything? Any comments? Comment?
No,
Question?
Question. Okay, it's okay. Yeah. So thank you very much for the class, and you emphasize especially on the fact that we receive protection by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when we are on the street.
We have to thank Krishna Pika for saying that. I mean, of course, not that we weren't going to say it anyway. He was the one that kicked the ball off. And everything's like that. No one's saying anything. Everything is something you've heard from someone else. We're not the source of anything.
And we heard many times that in Srila Prabhupada time, every devotee will go out and only few will stay in the temple. My question is...
That was mentioned by Shruti Kirti Prabhu last week even.
Yeah. And my question now is why it's not the case today? Or why this...
Today?
Well...
Yesterday?
Every day.
The day before? Tomorrow?
Every day, yeah. We see that.
Why it's not the case?
Yeah.
Well, Prabhupada was, even during when Prabhupada said that, or wrote that, written, it wasn't that one devotee stayed back, by the way. What he was emphasizing was every devotee should go for Sankirtan. This is our primary activity of our movement. What form it takes may vary. But that, of course, circumstances may change in different places, in different times. That's the principle. And it's not only one devotee, but there's a couple of people in the kitchen, and obviously pujaras, someone to look after guests, some management. Different devotees had temple services to do then. But there were more devotees in the temple in general. In many temples now, there's not hardly 1 to 2 devotees. Here we have a handful of devotees only practicing. So other things have to go on. And some of these directives were given by Prabhupada too. That one wasn't, by the way, but some of them are when there was no temples. When we say no temples, we mean no established deity worship. Like the letter to Roy Ram. Yeah, the letter to Roy Ram, where he said every devotee should go out on Sankirtan. First thing, even before your sadhana, is to go on the street chanting.
Wow.
Time, place, and circumstance. There were no deities in those days. Devotees were only just beginning days of 67. So different stages probably gave different directives. Later on he said, only unless there are 12 dedicated, fixed up Brahmins, we will not install any deities. But we see that's not the case nowadays. Struggle is there. Circumstances sometimes change. But Prabhupada did want every devotee to go for Sankirtan. We have pujaras, at least when I joined, there were Radha Krishna deities and Jagannath deities in the temple when I joined in 71 I came. They were already there. And the pujaris would also go out, at least sometimes, on Harinam. Not so much books in those days, mostly Harinam. They would also go out whenever they could. Everyone would go out. Temple president, everybody would go out. It was more of a team spirit. It wasn't like, I'm a pujari, I don't do that. I'm a Sankirtan devotee, I don't do that. I'm a cook, I don't do that. It was more of a team spirit. Everybody cleaned. Every single devotee cleaned. There's no question of, I'm the cleaner, you're not. Every single devotee in the temple cleaned every single day, including the president. Everyone had their rotational area of the temple to clean. To clean. Like that, it was kind of like the system that everyone did pretty much everything. They were qualified. Everyone was qualified to clean and everyone was qualified to go on Sankirtan. You're not being qualified to do daily worship. So pretty much that was like it was. And the whole temple was geared like that. There was no congregation. Everything was geared towards that. There were no other programs practically. We even booked distribution when I joined. Practically was nothing at that time. Kicked in 72. But the whole temple was kind of like, there wasn't so much specialist of services. There was almost a rotation of temple president. I think it changed. Usually 4 or 5 times in 1 year, the temple president would change. It definitely, within, usually after 3 months, your service would change. Temple commander, head cook, Sankirtan leader, head pujari, all this could happen in 1 year. Those were more flexible. But going out on the street on Sankirtan was just understood. That's what the movement was. If you didn't like it, you didn't join. Basically speaking, if you didn't think you were going to do that, you just wasn't really much. What else are you going to do? 90. Out of the temple, maybe 20 devotees in the temple every day, at least 15 would go on Sankirtan. Anything from, 2 to 10 hours each. Most of them would go for like 7 hours a day. We were living on the doorstep of the city center. It's easy to walk out the door. Most of our centers were like that in those days. They were small, but located pretty central. And, modern society, the focus has changed now. A lot of it is online preaching. Many devotees are more inclined to online preaching. It's also Sankirtan. But it doesn't have the same cutting effect. It doesn't have the same effect on the individual necessarily either. It's kind of like non-intrusive, what do they call it? Non-evasive operation. What is it when they? Like it's not, you don't cut. It's something else. It doesn't have the same cutting effect. It's not so challenging. You're right on the cutting edge, so to speak. Going out, facing, unexpected facing of various entities in human bodies. The challenge, the weather yesterday was exceptionally hot. Sometimes it's exceptionally cold or wet. Tapasya. It's tapasya in every form of service, of course, but not much sitting behind your computer at your own time, a cup of decaffeinated coffee on one side and some chocolates on the other. You're preaching online. change of heart. Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Joy.
His Holiness Janananda Goswami ki.
Ah.